The $1 billion secret no one saw coming, asterisk, asterisk. He stepped off the plane in Los Angeles with one suitcase, a few dollars, and a life starting from zero. No English, no connections, no safety net, just the weight of survival and a promise he made to himself that this new world wouldn't break him. In the early 1980 seconds, DoWon Chang walked the streets of L.A., the way most people walk into a storm, cautiously, quietly, hoping it doesn't swallow them whole. He wasn't the man behind a global fashion empire yet. He was just another immigrant trying to find a job, a meal, and a reason to believe he hadn't made a mistake. But what no one knew, not even him, was that this broke. Exhausted newcomer would one day build a brand that teenagers lined up for. A brand that would dominate malls across America. A brand that would become a symbol of fast fashion itself. Forever 21. This is the story of how an ordinary man became one of the most unexpected CEOs in retail history. Section 2. Setup. The American dream begins at rock bottom. Asterisk. Asterisk. He didn't arrive in America chasing success. He arrived chasing survival. In 1981, DoWon Chang and his wife Jin Suk stepped into Los Angeles with nothing but determination and the kind of quiet courage only people with no other choice possess. Their first apartment was small, cramped, and barely furnished the kind of place where every sound from the street seeped through the thin walls. Every morning before sunrise, Chang left home for one of his 3 jobs. A janitor's uniform before dawn, a gas station attendant by afternoon, a coffee shop helper by night. His days blended into a cycle of exhaustion, gasoline smells, and the constant ache of hustling just to stay afloat. He wasn't working for ambition yet. He was working to pay rent, working to put food on the table, working to make sure the dream of a better life didn't die before it even started. But one moment, during one of those long, grinding shifts, would change that survival mindset forever. Section 3. The spark, a gas station observation that changed everything. Asterisk, asterisk. It happened during one of those endless shifts, the kind where time blurs, and you're running on nothing but caffeine and hope. As DoWon Chang stood behind the counter of the gas station, wiping down the same surface for the 10th time that night, he noticed something unusual, something that didn't make sense at first. The nicest cars, the Mercedes, the BMWs, the shiny imports he had only seen in magazines, always belonged to people in the fashion business, over and over again. The pattern appeared. Whenever a luxury car rolled up, the driver was almost always connected to apparel, retail, or manufacturing. For a man working 3 jobs just to survive, this wasn't just a coincidence. It was a window, a glimpse into a world he had never considered, a single observation that planted a question deep in his mind. If fashion could give them a future, why couldn't it give him one too? That spark didn't make him wealthy overnight, but it did something even more important. It gave him direction. And with that direction, DoWon Chang was about to take the biggest risk of his life. Section 4. The struggle, one tiny store. No guarantee. Asterisk, asterisk. It didn't look like the beginning of a future retail empire. It barely looked like a store. In 1984, DoWon Chang and his wife scraped together their savings. Just $11. Ling, ling, ling. And opened a small 900 square foot shop in Los Angeles called Fashion 21. The walls were plain, the racks were simple, and every piece of inventory had to be chosen with absolute precision because they couldn't afford mistakes. Inside that cramped space, Chang worked the floor with an intensity you could feel. He watched customers closely, learned which styles moved fastest, and adjusted prices by hand. Jin Suk handled buying with razor-sharp instinct, picking pieces that sold out even when competitors doubted they ever would. They weren't just running a store, they were fighting for a chance to stay in business another day. There was no guarantee, no safety net, just a small, unproven shop sitting in a crowded LA plaza, and two people determined to outwork everyone around them. But then something happened that neither of them expected. Something that didn't just keep the store alive, it exploded. Section 5. The breakthrough, from $35,000 to $700. 0 inches, 1 year, asterisk. The numbers didn't make sense, not for a tiny shop, not for two immigrants learning retail on the fly. Fashion 21 should have taken years to find its footing, but instead, it exploded. What should have been modest monthly sales suddenly turned into lines out the door, racks emptying faster than they could restock, and customers returning because the little shop in the corner plaza had something no one else did: fast, trendy fashion people could actually afford. In its first year, the store didn't make $35. 000 like they expected. It made $700. 000. Word spread. Shoppers brought friends. Local buzz became city buzz. The Changs weren't just running a business anymore. They were creating a formula that hit the exact pulse of what people wanted. And now that they knew the formula worked, the next step became obvious. It was time to grow. Section 6. The expansion Forever 21 takes over America. Asterisk. Success didn't make DoWon Chang slow down. It made him faster. As soon as Fashion 21 proved itself, the Changs began opening new stores with a pace the retail world wasn't ready for. One location became 2, 2 became 5, and suddenly, malls across California started seeing the same bold storefront with a new name: Forever 21. Inside these stores, the shelves moved like clockwork. New inventory arrived constantly. Styles changed weekly, and prices stayed low enough that teenagers, young adults, and families all walked out with bags in hand. While traditional retailers planned seasons in advance, Forever 21 operated like a living organism, reacting to trends in real time, turning fashion into something fast, fun, and accessible. By the early 2000s, Forever 21 wasn't just a store, it was a phenomenon. Massive, multi-level locations, bright yellow shopping bags, and the unmistakable energy of a brand that owned the mall era. But behind all the growth was a deeper meaning, one that started with the name itself and revealed the philosophy driving DoWon Chang forward. Section 7. The message behind the brand. Why the name Forever 21 matters. Asterisk. Most people walked past the bright yellow bags without ever noticing the message on the bottom, a small Bible verse printed in tiny text, a quiet reminder of where the brand's founders came from. But the real meaning of the name Forever 21 was even simpler and far more universal. DoWon Chang believed that 21 is the age of possibility, the moment in life when dreams still feel within reach, when the future looks wide open, when you feel bold enough to reinvent yourself. He wanted every customer, no matter their age, background, or budget, to feel that spark of youth and hope when they stepped inside his stores. Fashion, to him, wasn't about luxury. It was about confidence, that feeling you get when you put on something that makes you believe in yourself again. But even as Forever 21 became a symbol of youthful optimism, the industry around it was changing fast, and the cracks were about to show. Section with the fall. No Empire is Safe Forever, by DoMil Disnuff. The bright lights of Forever 21 weren't shining as they once had. Stores that once overflowed with shoppers now had aisles half empty, and the buzz that had defined malls in the early 2000s had shifted online. High rents, fast-changing trends. And the relentless rise of e-commerce slowly eroded the empire that DoWon Chang had built from nothing. It was a bitter irony. The very speed and ambition that had fueled Forever 21's rise now became its vulnerability. Expansion had been too fast, overhead too high, and the market too unforgiving. In September 2019, the company filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, shocking employees, investors, and loyal customers alike. A retail giant that had once seemed untouchable was now fighting for survival. But even in the darkest moments, DoWon Chang didn't give up. Behind the headlines and court filings, he was quietly preparing for the next chapter, a chance to reinvent himself and his company once again. Section 9. The Rebirth. DoWon Chang refuses to quit. Even after bankruptcy. DoWon Chang's workday didn't start at 9 a.m. and end at 5 p.m. It started the moment the sun rose and often stretched long into the night. For a man who had built an empire from scratch, failure wasn't a stopping point. It was a lesson, a challenge, a call to adapt. He studied the changing retail landscape, learned the language of e-commerce, and experimented with smaller, more flexible store formats. He knew Forever 21 couldn't just return as it was, it had to evolve. Every decision was calculated, every risk measured, yet the same fire that fueled a young immigrant on the streets of Los Angeles still burned. DoWon Chang wasn't done. He was quietly laying the groundwork for a new chapter, one that would prove the lessons of persistence, vision, and adaptability are worth more than any balance sheet. And in the end, his journey wasn't just about stores or sales. It was about a truth anyone can take to heart. Section 10. Closing message. What we can learn from DoWon Chang. DoWon Chang's story isn't just about fashion, malls, or billion-dollar sales. It's about resilience, vision, and relentless determination. From a cramped apartment in Los Angeles to a small gas station observation, from a tiny 900-square-foot store to an empire that spanned the country, every step of his journey shows what's possible when you refuse to give up. He reminds us that failure isn't the end, it's a lesson, that youth and hope aren't just ages on a calendar, but mindsets you can carry through life, and that a single spark of insight, combined with hard work, can change the course of everything. So whether you're starting from nothing or facing a setback that feels insurmountable, DoWon Chang's journey proves one thing: with persistence, adaptability, and vision, even the impossible becomes possible. And with that, the story of Forever 21 and the man who built it leaves us with a truth that goes far beyond retail. Success is never final. Failure is never fatal. And the next chapter is always waiting.